It was a quiet Thursday afternoon in central London. An elderly man, maybe in his late 70s, sat alone at a small cafe near Hyde Park. Dressed in an old tweed coat, round spectacles on his nose, he looked like any retired professor enjoying his usual cup of Earl Grey. He wasn't bothering anyone, just sipping tea, reading a worn paperback, and occasionally glancing at passers-by with a calm, almost knowing expression. But then two unmarked black cars pulled up to the curb. Within seconds, plainclothes officers surrounded him. No sirens, no dramatic shouting, just a swift, coordinated move, as if they were arresting a high-profile criminal. One officer leaned in, whispered something in the man's ear, and to everyone's surprise, he simply closed his book, smiled faintly, and held out his hands without protest. The entire cafe froze. Customers stared, confused. Some pulled out phones. Others whispered, "Who is he? What's going on?" But the old man didn't say a single word. He just nodded politely to the barista as if he'd be back tomorrow. Nobody knew, not even the officers, that they had just made a mistake that would shake the entire intelligence community within the hour. Back at the precinct, something felt off. The usual process, ID check, background scan, fingerprinting, all hit a wall. His fingerprints, no match in any UK database. Not in Interpol. Not in MI5. Nothing. It was as if this man didn't exist. One officer joked nervously, maybe he's a ghost. But the laughter faded quickly when the computer system suddenly froze, then rebooted on its own. That never happens. Minutes later, a red flag notification flashed across the screen. Restricted subject, notify intelligence services immediately. The room went silent. Moments later, the phone on the watch sergeant's desk started ringing. It wasn't internal. The number on the display was long, unfamiliar, foreign. They answered cautiously. A cold voice spoke on the other end. "This is not a local matter. Secure the room. No one leaves. Senior command is being contacted now." That's when everyone realized. They hadn't arrested an old man. They'd stumbled into something way bigger than they were trained for. Exactly 63 minutes after the arrest, the atmosphere inside the precinct was like a pressure cooker. Officers whispered among themselves. The old man, calm as ever, sat silently in the interview room, hands folded, eyes closed, almost meditating. Then it happened. The landline on the superintendent's desk rang. Not his mobile, not a secure line. The landline, used mostly for admin. The call display showed nothing, just blank. He picked it up, and before he could speak, a deep American voice cut through the line. "This is Colonel Abrams, United States Department of Defense. Put me on with your highest-ranking officer now." The superintendent, stunned, stammered, "Excuse me, who did you say you were? You have in your custody a man you should never have touched. I repeat, release him immediately. You're not authorized to even speak his name, let alone detain him." Another officer tried to intervene, said protocol didn't allow immediate release without proper documentation. The voice on the phone snapped. "You don't understand. He has level 7 clearance. That's above your prime minister, above NATO, above me. You're playing with fire, officer." And then, as if to drive the point home, every computer screen in the room flickered, then turned black. That's when it sank in. Whoever this old man was, he didn't just have power. He had immunity no one could explain. The officers watched in stunned silence as the interview room's lights flickered, not because of a power cut, but something else. The station's security system had locked itself down. No doors opened. No calls went out. Then, without warning, a black SUV with no plates pulled up outside the precinct. 4 men in suits stepped out. No badges, no words, and entered like they owned the building. One of them simply handed a folder to the duty officer. On it, a seal none of them had ever seen before. The file was marked classified, eyes only, tier omega. Inside were exactly 3 sentences. 1. The man you've detained is not a British citizen. He operates under joint clearance by the Pentagon, CIA, and an undisclosed agency. You are to release him immediately, destroy all footage, and forget this event occurred. No name, no explanation, just an order, the kind no one dares disobey. Minutes later, the old man was escorted out, not by local officers, but by the men in suits. He didn't say a word, just gave a small nod to the constable who'd booked him, as if to say, "You did your job." As he stepped into the SUV, one officer whispered, "Who the hell was he?" No one answered. But later that night, CCTV from the entire block went missing, completely wiped, like he was never there. Whatever this man was involved in, it wasn't police business. It was something far above anyone's pay grade. The old man vanished as quietly as he had appeared. No headlines, no report, not even a name on the logs. By morning, it was as if he never existed at all. The station was back to business as usual, or at least it tried to be. But something had changed. The officers who had been there that day, they remembered. And what they remembered didn't fit inside a police report. Constable Harris, a 14-year veteran on the force, kept replaying the arrest in his mind. He didn't flinch, he said later in a private conversation. Didn't question, didn't panic. It was like he knew this was supposed to happen, like he was watching it all from outside his own body. One junior detective started digging, unofficially, trying to figure out who the man was. She pulled CCTV from nearby shops, CAF invoices, even traffic cams. Everything between 2 o'clock and 4 p.m. that day, wiped clean. No data, no explanation. She asked around. And that's when strange things began happening. Her personal laptop bricked itself overnight. She got a warning from an unknown email account. Some questions are safer left unanswered. She dropped it, but whispers still echoed through the building. A retired MI6 handler, who had been in the area that day, made a cryptic comment to an old colleague over drinks. "I haven't seen him since Berlin in '89. Back then, they called him the locksmith, because he could walk into any room, political, military, criminal, and unlock the one truth that scared everyone." He paused, then added, "We thought he died in '97, but I guess some ghosts don't stay buried." That name, the locksmith, started floating through the intelligence community. Never officially spoken, never written, just a code name, a legend. Theories exploded online. Some claimed he was part of a post-WWI Black Ops program, trained in over 6 languages, capable of hacking not just systems, but people. Others believed he once negotiated the release of 43 hostages using only a briefcase and a quote from Marcus Aurelius. One Reddit thread insisted he was the reason a nuclear standoff in 2009 ended overnight with no explanation. Of course, the government denied everything. When questioned, a defense spokesperson replied simply, "We do not confirm or deny the existence of such individuals. But here's what we do know. That man walked into a London cafe like he was nobody. He left with the entire intelligence structure of the Western world watching. And somehow, through it all, he never once raised his voice, never broke a sweat, never said his name. To this day, no badge, no agency, no politician has come forward with answers. But if you listen carefully, you'll still hear his story whispered in briefing rooms, intelligence circles, and secret files locked deep underground. They called him the locksmith He held the keys to rooms no one was supposed to enter. And for one brief moment, a local police station held a ghost more powerful than any government. Just one question remains. What happens when he chooses to come back?